Hi, happy Friday. I hope you're good. Today I'm here for another book recommendation. This one is on Stephen King. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm a Stephen King expert because I personally have only read around maybe 10, a little bit more of his books, and he's written I don't know how many books, so many, right? Thousands maybe, not thousands, but you get my point. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm an expert, but I have read quite a few that I enjoy and I would like to recommend them to you today. If you are interested in Stephen King and don't really know where to go or what to start with, maybe check this out. I'll let you know how I kind of started my journey with him, but I'm a fan of Stephen King, so let's get started. The first book that I read from Stephen King, I was really young. I shouldn't have read this when I was around 11-ish, and I read it. It is a monster of a book. We all know that this is about Pennywise the Clown as he kind of tortures this town and goes on a rampage, and these kids have to fight this evil while they're children and then later on while they're adults. And so it's a very interesting story. Yes, this book is too long and it should be condensed, and there are things in here that are awful. Why are they in here? It's not okay. But at the same time, I enjoyed this book a lot, and I think if you are interested in it because of the cultural impact, maybe I would recommend it. I mean, I liked it. I haven't reread it in so long, so I can't tell you if I still like it, but I mean, it's just one of those books that maybe everyone should read, possibly. I'm not sure. And then I have my favorite Stephen King. This is The Mist. This is actually technically, I think, a novella. It's barely over 200 pages, 220-ish pages. This is my favorite because this book is set in a town where a mist rolls in, and in the mist is monsters. Kids are being loud, I'm sorry. But there are monsters in this mist, and a group of people get stuck in a grocery store together while this happens. And being stuck together, you see the decline of these people. You see as they slowly start to turn on one another, how people try to control the situation, how people try to boot people out, and it is so fascinating and spooky and eerie, and I love the places that this story goes. It really pushes some boundaries, and this has been my favorite for so long, and I can pick this up and read it in a day whenever I feel like it, whenever I really just want to read a super interesting story that just makes you think. I love this one so much. I highly recommend the movie as well. I just really love The Mist. Another close favorite is 11/22/63. This again is a monster of a book, but with this one I don't mind that it's so long because it's so rich and fascinating, and the characters are so fleshed out in such a way that you fall for them so hard, and you want the best for the main character, and there's a romance in this that you just root for. And but I'm veering off. This book is about time travel, where this character goes back in time to try to stop the Kennedy assassination, and I'm not going to tell you anything else about this, but it's so good. It's so worth your time. It's not horror, so if you don't want to read anything spooky, this could be for you. Next we have Cujo. Cujo this was interesting reading this. I read this during a readathon and I had such a fun time with it. It was unputdownable. I sped through this so fast. It was so thrilling, and I wanted to find out what happened. This is about a dog that gets rabies and then tries to basically murder this mother and her son while they're stuck in their car, and it is terrifying to read about because you're terrified of this dog, but at the same time the poor thing got rabies, so you don't want anything bad to happen to the dog, but then you don't want anything to happen to the family, although some of the characters are questionable and I don't know if I really like them. But I really enjoyed this book. This one was so good. I read this one not too long ago either, and I would really recommend this one if you enjoy a good kind of monster novel, even though this is about a dog that's trying to kill people, but still it's so good. And then next I have, of course, The Shining by Stephen King. The Shining is one of Stephen King's greatest books, just overall in general, because it's just so well written, well structured. The story's just great, and this is wonderful because it is a haunted house story at a hotel, and then we have this kid that has this magical shining ability, and he is there with his parents, and things go terribly wrong. They go terribly wrong. These characters are written so well. They're so interesting. You just need to know what happens to them, and I love this one so much. I highly recommend it. you should read it if you like ghosts or some sort of like supernatural twist. This one's really good. And then we have Salem's Lot, which is a really interesting one because I feel as if not as many people talk about this one. This one is Stephen King's take on vampires, which I really enjoyed this one. This one was very spooky, and you know, I read this one, I want to say a long time ago now, but I still think about it every now and then, and I highly enjoyed this one. So if you are a fan of vampires, maybe check this one out. I liked it. Then we have Carrie. Carrie is one of those stories that I actually watched the movie first before I read the book, but the book was also really great. I highly recommend this one. This one follows Carrie, this poor young girl that is constantly bullied, and her mom is cuckoo bananas, and you know, being under so much stress and just constant mockery from her peers. It's terrible. Over time she figures out that she has these telekinetic abilities. She can move objects, and over time she's bullied so much that she finally maybe cracks and maybe goes on a killing spree and hurts everyone. I'm not gonna say anything else, but it's really good. I highly recommend Carrie. This is a story that I kind of grew up with, so it's just one that I think everyone should read just to see what it is, you know? Pet Sematary. Pet Sematary is probably one of the most shocking books that I've ever read. Again, another one of my favorites from King. This book is about a cemetery where pets are buried, but there's so much more. I don't want to say too much, honestly, but I will say that this book centers on grief and what grief can do to someone, the things you'll do, the places you go, the decisions that you'll make because of grief. And it is horrifying and so sad, but again, it's masterfully written, and I love this one so much. This one is so rereadable too. You could pick this up and read it every couple years and just still be blown away at this book, and I love it so much. Plus this cover is so creepy, so creepy. I love this book. And for those that are interested in short stories, I have a couple of short story collections by King. I have Stephen King Goes to the Movies. This one's really interesting. I've only read 2 stories from this collection so far. I read 1408 and Children of the Corn, but this one's really interesting because it has stories from Stephen King that have been adapted, and then at the end of this collection Stephen King talks about some of his favorite movies, I believe, and I really enjoyed the short stories that I have read from here so far. With Stephen King short stories, I tend to just pick them up whenever I feel like it, and then I read 1 or 2 from them, and then, you know, eventually I'll get back and read the rest of the stories in here because I find them to be a treat, because I really enjoy Stephen King short stories. So for these 2 that I will be talking about, I haven't completed them, but they're good. They're Stephen King short stories, so you should read them. Also, I have Skeleton Crew. I've only read, I think, 3 from here. No, I've read like 5 from here actually. How many have I read? There's so many in here, to be honest. I read The Mist because I already have that one. I read Here There Be Tigers. I read The Raft, and I read The Reaper's Image, and I think I read Survivor Type. Yeah, so I've read a couple in here, and I really enjoy this one a lot. This one might be, I won't say it's my favorite because I haven't completed it yet, but this one is kind of a gem, and every time I feel like I want to read a really good short story, I just pick this up. I would recommend this, though I haven't completed it, so just don't take my word for it, of course. One that I have completed recently that I've talked about a lot on my channel is If It Bleeds by Stephen King. I personally have been enjoying this short story collection more than this one, but this one on its own was really great because there's only 4 stories in here, and 3 of them I really enjoyed, and 1 of them was just so-so. But this one is mainly a short story collection that kind of centers on death, and that's about it. And so I really liked it though, so I would recommend this one if you like short stories. This is Stephen King's newest book that was published. One more book that I want to talk about that I don't own is The Outsider by Stephen King. This one I really enjoyed because it is about a monster that is kind of attacking this town and killing people, and they have to figure out, you know, what this creature is, how to stop it, and someone is, I don't want to say framed, but people think it's this person, but it's not. I did think it was a fun sort of just murder mystery sort of thing, so I would recommend that one. I I have read a couple other Stephen Kings that aren't my favorites, so they're not going to be recommended here, unfortunately. But those are just ones that I really would recommend wholeheartedly that I have enjoyed so far. If you've read other Stephen King books that you think other people should definitely check out, please leave those in the comments below. I also want to say that I can't recommend The Stand by Stephen King, even though I know that that's one of his most popular works. I've only read half of it, so I can't fully recommend that one either, but I have enjoyed what I read, but I returned it to the library because I couldn't finish it in time, so I'll eventually read The Stand someday. I don't know when. But yeah, those are just some Stephen King books that I really like, and I would love to know, like I said, what your favorites are. And what do I need to read next? Because maybe, should I read The Dark Tower? I don't know if I want to. I don't know. There's so many books. But anyway, I'm rambling. I'm gonna go. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you later. Bye.